I never thought I'd get around to making a video on this show, but here I am doing it anyways. When it comes down to shows with bad art styles, people may think that it generalizes the entire show, right? Well, not really all of them. In fact, I think an example of a show with a bad art style but isn't bad in general is the MTV show Beavis and Butt-Head. Created by Mike Judge, Beavis and Butt-Head started airing on MTV on March 8, 1993. The series revolves around our titular main characters getting into hijinks and shenanigans, attempting to score with women, and also expressing commentary on media. Seems very basic, right? Not that hard to follow. The series actually originated from Judge's 1992 short film, Frog Baseball, which involves a duo playing said title. After MTV saw the short and commissioned a full series around the characters, the series itself ran for 7 seasons from 1993 and ending in 1997, though it was revived twice, with the second one receiving a 2-season order coming to Paramount+. Beavis and Butt-Head received critical acclaim for its satirical and scathing commentary on society. They even went out to make a film adaptation of it called Beavis and Butt-Head Do America in 1996. Which did pretty well in the box office, especially for the show's standards. But it wasn't until 2018 when Judge had expressed the idea in making a second Beavis and Butt-Head movie. Then 3 years later in 2021, it was announced that a sequel was in production for Paramount Plus with the creator on board. The news came following the announcement of a revival series the year prior, which was originally set to air on Comedy Central. In January of 2022, Judge tweeted drawings of older versions of Beavis and Butt-Head. Then a month later, the film's title was revealed as Beavis and Butt-Head Do the Universe. When I initially first saw the trailer, I didn't think it was all that great. That was before I was sort of into the show itself, so I decided to watch a couple of episodes and needless to say, they were actually pretty good. Again, I haven't seen the whole series, but I guarantee you they follow the exact same formula of Beavis and Butt-Head getting into weird situations, which mind you isn't a bad thing. I'm all in for basic stories that can be funny from time to time. But then when the movie came out at midnight, I decided to give it a watch after slowly getting into the actual show. And was it good as many Beavis and Butt-Head fans claimed it would? Well, let's have a look, shall we? But I'll also do my best to compare this in the actual show, so bear with me, yeah? After the events of the last movie, Beavis and Butt-Head were guilty for destroying a science fair in 1998. Following their arrest, Beavis and Butt-Head are sentenced to space camp, where they meet up with this space lady named Serena, and throughout the entire movie, they would stop at nothing to have sex with her. I would say it barely has any plot relevance to the film, but that's when you start to realize that Beavis and Butt-Head always set scoring with women as their goal. But as always, something goes wrong that prevents them from doing so. The same thing applies to their perverted sense of humor, which makes total sense knowing that they're a pair of idiots who are constantly into immature shit, which is supposed to be annoying, but it actually creates for pretty good comedy. But anyways, after the duo messes with the spaceship, Serena will stop at nothing to get rid of them, which she does, but then the two get sucked into this black hole which transports them to 2022, where they meet up with intelligent versions of themselves, who inform the duo that they've traveled through a 5-dimensional portal through space and time, damaging the structure of the cosmos, and so they have to enter a space-time portal in 2 days or everything that they love will cease to exist. But they don't seem to care at all, as all they want is to score with Serena, who realizes that the two are still alive, thinking that she wiped them out of existence. She then vows to kill them forever, and her many attempts at doing so fail entirely by some dumb antic Beavis and Butt-Head create. But then towards the end, she finally realizes that they just want to have sexual intercourse with her, which Serena surprisingly isn't mad about. If anything, she understands it entirely. But of course it doesn't happen, and instead she's taken away by the smart Beavis and Butt-Head so that they can score with her. You know, for a plot that's as basic as this, I'm quite impressed that they put a lot of entertainment in it. Even if it's not the most original, I still enjoyed it. Because when it comes down to Beavis and Butt-Head episodes, they're all just slice of life episodes and nothing more. But it's interesting how they can turn that type of concept of a pair of idiots into a full-length story. This also applied to their first movie, where the entirety of it was for them to get their TV back, which involved traveling across the entire country of the US. Once again, turning a simple idea into a big story. The animation in this movie was pretty good. It's pretty on par with the animation back in the 90s with how the characters act, which again, despite looking bad, doesn't actually feel bad. But one interesting thing about the animation here was that it was the first Beavis and Butt-Head animation that was done with Adobe Animate. And I gotta say, they did a bang up job with making it look like the actual show but a bit more modernized. And they did well on animating a ton of scenes here. And if you wanted to know, the show was originally animated by Rough Draft Studios, who are also responsible for shows such as Futurama and Drawn Together. The voice acting is actually top notch, especially with Mike Judge's Beavis and Butt-Head, which is odd because Mike for this and the show intentionally wanted them to have the most annoying voices ever, especially with the way they laugh. But there's a difference between intentionally making characters annoying for humor and having them be annoying for the audience. But Beavis and Butt-Head are supposed to be annoying, which is hardly an issue knowing that the other characters around them get sick of it too. With again in Do the Universe where Serena acknowledges their very low intelligence and not having it anymore. But my absolute favorite aspect of this movie is how they characterize Beavis and Butt-Head's relationship. Now for anyone that has seen the show would know that Beavis and Butt-Head themselves had a mixed relationship with each other. A lot of the time they agree on a variety of stuff such as destruction and treating sex-related things as humor, but at the same time they tend to get abusive with one another, especially Butt-Head, who despite also being labeled as a dim-witted slacker, he's also the more wiser of the duo, while Beavis is portrayed as the dumb sidekick. Is it mean-spirited in any way, shape, or form? Far from it actually. Sure, it catches you off guard at times because you never really know when it's gonna happen, but I couldn't help but snicker at the dialogue they throw at each other.
You have to fill out a form just to throw something in the garbage? That sucks.
Beavis, you're a stupid dumbass.
And while this was still present in Do the Universe, they still like to acknowledge that despite their abuse towards one another, they actually couldn't imagine life without each other knowing the constant interests they share. And it was really sweet the way they decided to put their differences aside and work together like always.
And I just want to say, you can score first if you want to, Butthead. Me.
Beavis, I'm not gonna score, and you're not gonna score. We're gonna score.
Yeah!
Now, I'm not gonna act like this film is anything perfect, just some minor complaints. For example, I feel like smart Beavis and Butt-Head were mainly used as some sort of plot device. Like, they're only there just to tell the pair that they need to go back to their time before everything's destroyed, then they're brought back a couple of times to tell them the same thing. But to be fair, it wouldn't have any plot relevance if they only made one appearance in this movie, so I'll give them credit for acknowledging that, yeah, these characters exist, can't forget about them, but I wish they would be important. And they don't become important until they scored with Serena, despite them saying earlier that no version of them ever scored with any girl. Again, despite me explaining this issue and extending it, I don't see it as a huge deal, and they were sort of attached to the story. I just wish they had more of a reason to exist other than just to interact with Beavis and Butt-Head. But whatever. Now to answer my question from the beginning, was Beavis and Butt-Head Do the Universe good at all? Yeah, pretty much. I'll admit it's not that completely unique, but I feel like this was the biggest story the show has ever told, and that's because it is. We've already seen the duo travel across the entire country of America. There was a much bigger scope when they travel across the universe, and who knows, maybe they'll do the entire galaxy next. But for real, I'm happy for this movie to mark the show's return. But if I'm being completely honest with you, I never really thought it went away entirely, because again, it was rebooted a couple of times. But honestly, if the show ended in 1997, then this would have been a big surprise for the fans. I haven't seen the revival, so I can't really judge too hard on it, but I'm just saying that it would have been a much bigger surprise if they scrapped the revivals and just ended the show without it. Although season 8 came out in 2011, and considering it was over a decade before this film, that's pretty long. I can only hope their second attempt at rebooting it will actually be something worth watching, but knowing the show always takes place in the 90s, it'll probably follow the exact same formula with different stories. But hey, more Beavis and Butt-Head is to come. So as always, thank you all for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next. Good night, everybody.